Well, hello everyone. Thank you for attending our webinar today on InfoPath replacement. We've been doing these webinars for a number of years, and we're glad to see people still attending them who need to have InfoPath replacement projects done. We have a lot of experience in that, and I'll be glad to show you this webinar and what we offer for a solution for InfoPath replacement. My name is Scott Restivo. I am the owner and CEO of Croquet Software. We've been in business 24 years and based in California. We also have offices in Rhode Island. We have a small group in Australia, some people in India, and then different scattered parts of remote workers around the country. So we've been doing this business for, like I said, quite a while now, and we are in Office 365, Microsoft Teams, and SharePoint, providing business process automation solutions. We have a number of applications. We call them NITRO applications. These are like help desk, asset management, purchasing, contract management, and others. We have our NITRO Studio, which is our no-code application creation platform, which we'll talk about today, providing forms and workflow solutions. We build custom solutions that provide business process automation in 365, Teams, and SharePoint. And we have a number of AI and bot services that are growing in popularity. We're California Certified Small Business, Microsoft Preferred Partner, and we're on the GSA if you're into government. Now, before we get too far along, let me make a point that we have questions, a question box, and you can put questions in there, and you will be able to answer them during this webinar, or perhaps we can get to it after through email or a one-on-one conversation. And that brings to the point where it's always good if this webinar sparks your interest and you have an InfoPath replacement project, either for yourself or a client or whatever, we will be glad to talk to you one-on-one and get a lot more in depth in different ways, talk about the specific requirements that you have and all that. So that we do that quite a bit. We've had quite a number of InfoPath replacement projects over the years, about 4 years now. And some people with 400 or forms or 500 forms, sometimes 1,000. And they're using NITRO Studio to move off InfoPath into a modern solution. So let's get into this. First thing I'm going to talk about is very shortly is about the history of InfoPath, is that it was created in 2003. I always point this out primarily because it shows that it was before the iPhone and smartphones at all. You can hardly imagine there was a time before that. In fact, I just heard that today is the 15th year anniversary. So 2007 plus 15, of course, is 2022. Today is actually the 15th anniversary date of the release of the first iPhone. I saw that on the news today, so that's quite a coincidence. See that, but InfoPath was even created 4 years before that, so it wasn't even way before iPhones were even a twinkling in Steve Jobs' eye, I guess you could say. And it was even before Amazon Web Services and Azure, all the cloud-based. So you can say, like, this period of time here really set us off on the smartphone, the mobile, the cloud services, and InfoPath just wasn't developed with that in mind. And so therefore Microsoft threw up their hands and said, well, that's it. We can only do so much with it. We're not going to develop anymore. And they just left it hanging there. And we came in with our NITRO Studio about 4 years ago as a replacement. Well, I would say replacement is probably the wrong word, like a much greater improved program than InfoPath provided. And we run natively on Office 365, SharePoint, on premises, also in the GCC High, the commercial cloud, the GCC, and we're all over. All right, so Microsoft ended development for past 2003. As I said, they said this like over 4 years ago. Now is the time to start thinking about migrating. Well, now was 4 years ago, so we're way beyond now. No features are being added, no enhancements. Some enhancements of SharePoint and Office 365 could prevent InfoPath from working. They deprecated InfoPath because of it's not having any kind of mobile-friendly design that didn't even exist when InfoPath came out. It's not compatible with the latest browsers, or limited anyway because the browsers have evolved. In fact, I believe Edge came out after InfoPath was put in place. I'm pretty sure. Can't remember exactly, but it was well into that 2010, 2011 timeframe. Uses outdated technology, no longer developed. It's difficult to connect into data services as data services change their nature of connection. So it's holding you back. And if you're, even if it wasn't being phased out, why would you want to use old clunky technology? It's not like an old car, which is kind of cool to drive around sometimes if you're into classic cars. But InfoPath is not meant for a business. It's not meant, it's like it's like historical almost. So if you're not getting rid of it or looking to move off it, you really should be. What's going on there? Sorry, a little flash there. Mainly because you're not able to take advantage of these new technologies that are out there. You know, mobile, cloud, modern UIs, engagement portals, chatbots, improved integrations. You know, really, and I say the same thing kind of here, you know, enhancing business processes. This is really all it's about. It's about making the business processes as efficient as possible using the latest technologies. Why would you want to use something that's not mobile friendly, not cloud friendly, et cetera, et cetera? And I won't belabor this point too much because we want to look at Nitro Studio as the solution. So it's not a question of when, it's now, why, it's how. 4 years ago was very different kind of discussions we were having because people were saying, well, when can I do, you know, this time and all this. Meanwhile, Microsoft ended support for it, for InfoPath, and you know, new technologies evolved. Nitro has certainly evolved, Nitro Studio, and we just see InfoPath fading farther and farther into the past. Now we call ourselves InfoPath replacement experts because we have years of experience and many customers doing it. We have a complete package of tools, Nitro Studio. We also have excellent support and many free resources like our ebook and InfoPath, you know, some things that help with project management and scripts and things. We have this ebook you can download. Maybe some of you have done this already. And we have the InfoPath. Oh, now I'll go into why use Nitro Studio for InfoPath replacement. It's a complete set of tools. That means forms, workflows, reports, portals, list formatting, AI stuff in there. At least if you're on Office 365, you'll see some of that. It's low cost, it's easy to use. We have extensive training. We have great support. It's ideal for InfoPath replacement. In fact, a lot of the evolution of Nitro Studio came from studying InfoPath and what was on there and what people needed to replicate in the new modern environment. You know, different ways InfoPath work. We're able to put it in. And any of you have say to us, well, InfoPath can do this, or I could do that in InfoPath. Can you do it in Nitro Studio? Then we'd be glad to have that discussion and talk about what you see in InfoPath and how we implement more or less the same features in Nitro Studio. As I said, it works in SharePoint 2013, 2016, 2019, and SCE. I should add that in as the subscription edition, which is the latest version of on-premises. In other words, it works in all these on-premises versions. It also works in Office 365, whether you're in the commercial or the GCC, the government cloud, or even the GCC high secure cloud. We have it available in all those environments, and it's being actively used in all those for sure. We have these, you know, hundreds and hundreds, almost like 1,000 customers all over the world using this. So some names I'm sure you've heard of. Nitro Forms, the InfoPath replacement. We have dynamic forms. People can change things on the forms and they get, you know, different features, different sections, different questions. So very adaptable to user input. Responsive design for mobile. We have form templates that you can use over and over. If you have forms that are fairly similar to each other, you can link items in different lists and different sites all together. Repeating rows, of course, is a very essential one, like purchase items. You're going to add this, then this, then this, then this. We put custom actions on there so you can define what you want this button to do, such as escalate or assign or close or send to purchasing or send out to an outside database or whatever you want it to do. And multiple actions can happen just by simple click of a button. Portal interfaces, database integrations, electronic signatures. So we have quite a full suite of forms capabilities. But in addition, in Nitro is workflows and custom actions. The workflow manager runs whatever kind of workflow you want on a timer based, or you know, it could be based on user input, changes to data. So in other words, say the status changes of a ticket or a purchase request gets approved. Well, then a workflow can run that then furthers the process along. And that's really the heart of business process automation. It's that when something gets done, these other automatic processes kick into place, people get informed, lists get updated. All that happens with our workflow manager. And custom actions is very similar. It's just that it's initiated by a click of a button. So somebody will be on a form or in a portal and they'll click a button, or even in our Nitro bot, and they'll click a button and then it will launch some action, whether it's approval, escalations, automatic assignment, task management, notification, you know, many things, generate documents, integrate internal systems. So it's really gives you the power you need. Now we can external systems, we use REST APIs, we use web services, all kinds of stuff. Now we have a visual designer, a visual workflow designer. We have a visual forms designer. We've had that for many years, but we now have a visual workflow designer where you can lay out these different flows quite easily. I'll show you that in real life pretty soon. But Nitro has more than forms and workflows. It has the portals, reports and dashboards, AI services, all these ways of managing lists, email synchronization where people send an email or they can send in a text. They can work with Teams messages and Teams channels. All depends on how you want it to work. It's very flexible according to what your users will want to use and how they want to interact with it. We have a lot with Print Manager, printing out invoices or documents or reports or whatever in very laid out formats using Word templates or Excel templates or templates you design yourself. So there's a lot in Nitro Studio, and when you get on the covers and start looking at it under the hood, you'll see that there's a lot of power there, and it's developed over the years because we use this same Nitro Studio to build our applications. Our applications are all built on the Nitro Studio platform. And therefore, we know, we've been doing this for so many years, we know what these applications need to have in them, and we put that into Nitro Studio and then make that studio available to people who want to build their own applications, you could say. So that's not the end of it. That should really be the last slide. Let's hold off on that for now. We're going to go into what Nitro Studio looks like. So first, let me show you some things about artifacts on our website, you might say. This is crowcanyon.com. We have products. We have all these applications. Like I say, if you're interested, sometimes the InfoPath replacement becomes simply, instead of building something yourself, you just take on one of the things we already have. So, one of our project management or purchasing or leave request system or request management or even an IT help desk, and any one of those are ready to go right out of the box. And if you need to tweak it and adjust it and modify it, you can. With Nitro Studio, we have the, it comes with a package. It could be acquired by the farm for the full farm or for the full tenant. If you're in Office 365, we provide training, we provide support, we have workshops, almost at least once a month, if not twice. We have webinars like this one. We go to in-person events. We were just in Seattle in May. We're going to be in Chicago in September. We used to do a lot more before COVID, of course, and a lot of other materials, including a whole video library. So really here to help you out. It's one of the key features of Crow Canyon as well as Nitro Studio is that we're here to help out, and people have praised our support, and we're happy about that. Let me move over to show you some of what Nitro Studio has going on here, and we'll go right into it. All right. So I'll drag this screen over, and I want to get the whole browser. Okay, here we go. Okay, here we are, the browser. So let me start with this access request system. This is a sample system I put together, for these demos and to show you some of the features and capabilities of a Nitro Studio. Now, before we get into this, though, there's kind of like something to point out that end users have choices. You want to give them choices. If they want to submit a request, they can send in an email or a text even, and it'll be converted to a new ticket or new request. It sits in the SharePoint backend. You could have people go directly to SharePoint backend or have your administrators or sometimes people have like a dispatcher who creates tickets. I don't know, it depends on your setup. We're flexible in many, many, many different ways. Another way of approaching end users is with a portal. That's what I was showing at first. No, this one, where's that portal? Portal ran away from me. Come back here, portal. Here it is. The portal, it's an example. This can look many, many different ways. These are just some, I'd say, colorful colors here. I don't know. But anyways, the point is that you have certain ways of that the user can get a friendly interface, and then if they want to just create a new ticket, they have a form they have here. Comes up. This form is very flexible to build how you want it using our Nitro Studio. It's kind of a basic form here. It has requests. We know who the requester is, pulling information from AD. It's got some preset things. It's just asking some simple things. What do you need? How can we help you? Fill out a ticket, and then they can also view their own tickets. So the point here of the portal is that we are giving users a simpler interface to engage with whatever the back-end application. In this case happens to be an IT help desk, but it could be a purchasing one, and it could be a leave request system, any kind of system like that, and they can take different actions according to what you want to do. You can also set up a knowledge base and other things to work here too. So it's just several ways. There's many different ways people can interact, your end users. You got to do what's going to work for them. And when you do an InfoPath replacement, part of the deal is how are they doing it now, and how do you transition to a new way of doing things? Well, not only this is, it's all desktop shown here, but this is actually also mobile friendly. Where is it? This submit new ticket should be mobile friendly. I don't know if this is showing it on my screen, but you see it kind of like goes out into a mobile view. Yeah, you can design the forms in mobile to be really, really functional. Now, the third way, or from up to 3 or 4 now, whatever. Another way to engage with end users can engage is with, well, Nitro Engage. This is our Nitro bot. We call it Nitro Engage. So end users have the ability to come in here, and this works quite well in the mobile version of Teams. Whether you're on desktop, mobile, or a web browser version of Teams, doesn't matter. So here it is, Teams. They have this Nitro bot, Nitro Engage over here. You can just put it there once it's installed, or they can just access it through search or whatever. But it's pretty cool. So what happens? I mean, what happens here? I'll go through this, and I'll get into the back end Nitro. It's kind of like an interesting thing to see. So what we do here, person wants a new purchase, so they just can type in new purchase, right here. Or they could go use the commands and find the commands if they wanted, whatever. And you can put different keywords here. It could be, I want to buy something, even whatever. Or sometimes we do stuff like when you put in new purchase, you can put a keyword where they misspell purchase. Maybe they switch up different letters here. See all kinds of stuff in our bot, the bot that underlies Engage, Nitro Engage, pretty cool stuff. And what you could have a whole series of different commands that they can type in, it depends on even different languages really. And they would bring up whatever you want to bring up. In this case, we're bringing up a form, and this guy's going to get a new laptop. He just can type in. Of course, you can make this form have different drop downs or different items. Maybe fewer things is better. I don't know. Here, may not want to need all this stuff here. Maybe you're not using a purchase catalog, but whatever you're doing, we make it flexible and powerful enough to meet your needs. So in this case, he's buying he or she a laptop, normal, Inspiring 3000. In the IT department, put a reason in, but let's leave it at that and go with 1, right? And they can submit it. So the person doesn't even have to know anything about the back-end SharePoint, doesn't have to know anything. Of course, this is if you're in Office 365 and Teams, but they don't have to know anything about the back-end SharePoint, don't have to know anything about that at all. And they could just be working in this bot, Nitro Engage, inside of Teams. So it's created successfully. If you go to the back-end in SharePoint here, this is the purchase request. It's not here, but I mean, because you have to refresh the screen. You see the screen, it should say that what I just put in, new laptop right here, right? I just did that, 179, gave it a rec number automatically. It's pending approval. It's $800. All this stuff, you can open it up and take a look at it. The form here, again, this is a Nitro form purchase request. Given that this was, this was created in the Teams bot though, the Nitro Engage, right? Now, what's even more interesting about this is that there is another user over here named James, who's set up in the backend system to be the approver. See, it's a different person. JR, see the circle here says JR, that's James. And so it's a different, this one is CC, which is Crow Canyon admin account. Just the letters they gave it is CC. So open up in a different browser. Now I'm acting as James, and James, being the approver, got this card from the end user who's requesting this new laptop, C179, right? And he can approve or deny it or send back for more information. And these commands are all these are command buttons that are controllable by how you set up the bot on the back end. Pretty obvious, approve and deny are pretty obvious. You also can click and see the request itself. Let's go ahead and approve it. You can put a comment. Okay, I'll keep it simple for the webinar. It's okay, and approve it. It's all done with Teams, that's why we say these are Teams apps as well as SharePoint-based apps. And first was approved, request sent to the app, and then we go back over here to our Crow Canyon person using his Nitro Engage, and he gets this message that it was approved. You can click here, you can put on, see any comment, whatever, you can decide what you want to show here, but here's what happened. So now if we go over here and look at the purchase request, refresh, it should say approved. The top one, 179, yeah, approved. See, so it's all like interesting to me. I find it interesting. I don't know, tech guy. You do tech for long enough, you find all these things kind of fascinating. So the thing is, like, here we were in the I mean, it's actually pretty cool. We got all this to work out. I mean, I think, and our team is pretty good at this stuff. So, I used to do all this building myself years and years ago, and now I run the company. So I really like pretty jazzed up by what they can do. It's pretty cool. It's a good team. So here we are. Anyway, impressed myself, right? Anyway, so here we are in the he's got a new laptop approved, blah blah blah, all through Teams. But if you want to work the back end purchase request system, you can. If you want to work the Teams end, you can. And the other thing that's pretty cool, and I should say this before I get out of the whole Teams blah blah blah, is that you can actually have it go to a channel too. I don't know if we have that set up. I'd have to ask the guys, but I believe there's a purchasing here, and purchasing may have got this notice. See, this purchase was approved, so I think you can do this anyway. I don't think for that particular system we have it set up to go in there, but it looks like, yeah. Anyway, so the point here is that when it's approved, your customer action can send the message to the channel. So maybe there's a purchasing group monitoring a Teams channel, and so everything's being done in Teams. It's really quite interesting. All right, so now let's go back to the access request system that I originally started with, and we'll go through some of the fun and games you can have with this form as you build these forms. I just want to make a point, that's why it's for that whole spiel for the last 10 minutes or so, is that you can do it in backend SharePoint, you can do it in a portal, end users can engage with the system, with the data, and update it. You can do it with the Teams Nitro Engage, what we call our bot. We named our bot Nitro Engage. You saw how someone could submit a request, get it approved, get all the messaging. You never have to know about anything about this backend. So whatever works for you, works on your side of the organization, we're adaptable to. It's one of the things people really like about Nitro Studio. Now, this form here is a Nitro form with a lot of bells and whistles and buttons and stuff on it, just to kind of show it off a little. So we're looking at a access request. It's got information here. It's got buttons up here that do custom actions. They can be replicated up here if you like. Different kinds of custom actions here, all defining certain things you're going to do or need to do as you go through the life of this request. There's also different sections that are expandable or collapsible, have associated tasks and all that, signature pads and all kinds of things. So this is an existing form. Let's go open up a new one. Let's go to a new one. And the new one, and you have different forms for new, edit, and display. Those are the three modes that, if you think about it, that SharePoint works in. Either it's a new form, or you're editing an existing form, or displaying an existing form. In this case, we're creating a new form. Okay, so you want a title, you want all these buttons. I'm going to show you some of the stuff it can do. Now, this isn't to focus on an access request system per se, even though access request is a pretty cool activity. It's just a lot of people have to ask access for databases, or whether it's software or physical things or whatever, and then you have a whole record of who requested when, who requested it when, who approved it, and then if the person leaves, you can go back and do a search and say, you have this report that says that user that's being terminated has these accesses that were granted at such and such time, so you can revoke them. Anyway, to the side about how you can make a system like access requests really work well for you. But same idea with leave requests, purchase requests, and all kinds of things like that. Same idea. Anyways, what I want to show you on this one is that you can have this very dynamic form. So type of access change is add. Oh, you gotta put in the title first. The title is access to DB. Just say. Now we do add. And here we go with a section that opens up. Because you're adding access, you're going to say, is it a perpetual access or temporary? If it's temporary, let's put some dates in here and make it so that we know we have a workflow that when the end date is approaching or has passed, whatever you prefer, it's going to alert whoever the manager is that this access needs to be revoked or extended. It's up to you. But if you're just modifying it, you don't need that box, so it disappears, right? Now, there's other things that go on here. You will notice there's no SQL tab right here, right? Look at all the tabs. No, there isn't. So if you go to database and you choose SQL, lo and behold, the SQL tab shows up, right? Now with the SQL tab, or SQL if you prefer, you can put in this information in the DBA, and the DBA will be informed that this is a request about SQL. Same idea with Oracle or any of the other ones, you can do that. So you have information that's specific to the request going on here. This is a cascaded lookup, so you have like all these different categories, and each category has different, whatever you want under it. Again, these are completely configurable by you as you set up this application and do the Nitro Studio. There's another kind of idea here where if it's a contractor, instead of having the employee name, it's going to go ask who's the contractor. Now it's pulling from the contractor list over here. Right here in SharePoint is a contractors list, and here's the names, Johnny Rogers. It's going to fill in his company and who the rep is in your company for that, and any associates, and et cetera, et cetera. If it's an employee, it'll just do it by the employee name. You can just type in somebody's name here, and it'll come up. Oops. Come up with that person's name there, right? And who the manager of that person is. That's good for, you need that obviously for approvals, who the manager is. So that's that. And then, requester information is automatically filled in from Active Directory using our info filler. There's subtasks you can put in. If you want to create a new task, you have a whole series of tasks. You can do sections, hide and close sections like this. You can do a signature pad if you want to put something in here. And of course on mobile, this will show up and you can just do it with your finger, a little easier. You can have other tabs that have all kinds of interesting designs. You have the different buttons over here, the boxes like this. You can do all kinds of interesting layouts. You can, if you want to do tables, it's kind of gaudy green there, but I mean, you could do a table and records and things like that. Let's go over here and go over to Oracle database, Oracle, and we'll go here and show you a Oracle information setup kind of a table that's without the grid lines and things like that. So it's a lot of things you can do with these forms. Okay, that's great, Scott. How do you do it though, right? If you're asking that question. Well, in our Nitro Studio, which is accessed, let me slow down a little here. You can go here, either have Nitro over here, or you have application administration. You get to it. Anyways, you can get to the back end quite easily. And here it is, access request system. And we'll look at the Nitro forms. The Nitro forms are how you design that access request right there. All right. So you design it with our forms designer. Now, this is really good if we do training on this and everything. If you really like this kind of stuff, this is where the fun is of making these forms work. And we'd really glad to go one-on-one. You ask questions. We really that's where it gets really interesting, because then it's like, can it do this? Can it do that? We need this. Our InfoPath form has this in it. And this is don't let those be blockers to you getting your InfoPath replacement project done. We want to make it easy for you to move from InfoPath to Nitro Studio, and then be able to create these forms easily. And if you're, some people are doing it for their organization, other people are, resellers or they have clients, MSPs or something, and they do it for their clients, and they get on board with this, and they're able to, really provide the kind of forms they need quite easily. So here we are. So you see this form I was just talking about. And designer, there's all kinds of controls on the left that you can do. I don't want to dig in it too deeply, because there is so much here that's overwhelming. At first glance, once you get into it, it all makes a lot of sense. And there's a lot you can do with this form designer. There's many settings. You can preview. You can save it and use it in a different place. You can split up the form into do edit display. You can have create columns, different columns. We have a whole bunch of Nitro specific columns that we created. One interesting one is a barcode column. If you're doing barcoding for asset management, we do a lot with asset management, by the way. Work orders, asset management kind of thing. The barcode comes in very valuable for that. There's many ways to manage the forms and decide factors. So we put a lot into this. If you're in a particular area, like a particular column like this, you have the settings on the right where you can do many different things with that particular column: validation, permissions, what happens on a change event, and general settings. If you're in a section like this, a whole section, you want to configure that section, you've got a lot of options for UI and different background colors and stuff like that if you wanted to do that kind of thing, right? Change the background of this form, make it like this particular tab, all of a sudden it becomes looking like that, right? Which is kind of pretty cool, but I don't think I'll save that. And you could do that, different tabs could have different colors. You can also take let's go over to the display form. I'm not going to save changes. Display form has the buttons on it, and the buttons can have a lot of different designs too, rounded and different icons. But more important than what they look like, certainly that's important, is what they do, and that's where you get these custom actions: update, due date of child tickets, submit for approval, all those kind of different things. How's that done? Well, that's done in our custom actions. I can get the custom actions either by clicking the gear, or I can go to NITRO Studio and go to custom actions right here. Either way, it goes to the same place, and we'll go through it this way. You'll see that there's a number of custom actions set up that are listed here, what list they're on access request list in this case. And you go to the designer, and the designer tells what functions that button will do. In this case, you push the button, it's going to query the task list and get all the tasks that are child of this parent, and then it's going to update those tasks. That's pretty simple. There's a number of other actions you can do and put in here. You can do all kinds of different things, and it's where the creativity becomes. Now, we had one customer who looked at her InfoPath forms, and she graded them on a scale of 1 to 5, and she said some are simple to do, but some are more difficult. So once she got to know NITRO Studio over short training period, she was able to do most of them. Once you got to the difficult ones, like the 5 levels where you have to execute scripts or invoke web services, she got us involved and we helped her out. And it depends on your level of experience with these things, but there's a lot you can do with it's just so much powerful here that anything you do in InfoPath, I'm sure we could do better and a lot more with NITRO Studio. So let's go through a few of these. You can add a list item, you create a new one, update one, you can delete one, you can execute any kind of JavaScript, which belies the real potential that's behind that. You can do many different things with that. You can send emails, send a text, evoke a web service, upload documents, evoke a workflow, one of our workflows, or Power Automate workflow. You can generate documents using certain templates, query the list, evoke custom actions. So where the custom action can evoke another custom action if you want. You can do things with Teams like send messages, create a channel, post a card, launch a URL, invoke Azure. Then you can also invoke Azure functions, parse the CSV file such as a spreadsheet, and use the data in it to inform further actions. So we put a lot into this designer and the functionality in custom actions as well as in workflows. The difference is workflows will run based on events and timers, whereas this custom actions run because you click the button. Let's go here and put in a gateway. You can also put in a gateway. And a gateway will make it so that you can branch off in different directions. So now you can go over here and say, okay, if this condition do this, if that condition do that, right? So this right here says what the condition is, some yes, no condition, like is the status approved? Is the status closed? Is the priority high? And then you can do different things based on that, and then go through your list, right? You might want to, if priority high, send an email to somebody. All kinds of things, whatever your workflow does, it can do. And this is just a very simple one, but you can have a lot more, actions on here going in different directions, different gateways. So that's what the custom action system is. It's really pretty cool. A lot doing it, and you can invoke those, like I say on the form here, just by clicking the button, or back on the access request form. You could have it right here in the list view. You can send, if you highlight one of these, you can have custom actions going on up here. Save attachments, escalate. You can have it right here on the form itself, either by a button or by something in the toolbar at the top. Yeah, actually, the buttons don't have to be at the top. The buttons can be anywhere in it in the form. So that is what a very brief overview of forms, our forms tool and our workflow tool. There's many other features here that go on, many other parts of NITRO Studio. There's the reporting, there's the portals, which we showed you a little bit. There's all these other features here, printing. So let me show you a little about printing. Printing's kind of cool. You go here and you have access to database. You want to print. You've got these different printouts you can do. And this you can set up the template any way you want. This is a kind of simple, basic one, but there's ones that get more fancy, like this kind of thing. And then you can print it. You can have it saved as an attachment. The attachment can be saved to OneDrive if you want. You could do email, PDF. You can make this a PDF and email it to a preset address. You know, maybe there's an address already ready to go here. You want to send it to manage. Oh, it's going to send it to somebody. Oh no, send it to a manager. Who's the manager here? James. Okay, James just got a PDF of this, I guess, in his Outlook over here. Actually, I wonder if he got it. So if we look at his Outlook, James over here, Outlook, it should have sent it to him. Needs your approval. I think it takes like a minute or two to show up to go through the mail system, but it will show up over there. All right, so now we're at the point of looking at the different features that you can do. So how do you do, oh, here it is, just came in over here. I'll come back here. It just took a minute there. See, this was sent to him. Access request certification with the PDF. See attached PDF for details, right? So there we go. You got it, send it to him. Interesting, huh? So next is make the case here that if you are using a SharePoint, if you are using InfoPath replacement, it's time to move off of it. And the way to do it is to get involved in Nitro Studio. In my opinion, it's the best way. And get involved with us and see what it'll take to get the Nitro Studio for the tenant or Nitro Studio for the farm if you're on Office 365, if you're on SharePoint on premises, if you're in GCC or GCC High or working there. And once you get trained on it and start to see all the cool stuff you can do with it, then it becomes much, much easier to get these forms together. We had the people, like I said, doing 400 or more forms or 500 or more forms, and really seeing the power of Nitro Studio, not only in like, is it forms with the workflows, the actions, the list formatting, the bot, if you're in the cloud, all the different capabilities to get it. Now, once you have it in place, it's one thing I was contemplating, like how to convey how to go from one to the other. So let me go back into Nitro Studio a little and talk about that a bit. Nitro Studio, you install in your app catalog in your tenant or farm, and then you have it available to activate in the site collection. So, and this one has a lot of site collection. It's one site collection with a lot of sites, so it takes a minute to load. But what you're going to see is all the different sites in the site collection that this is installed on. Once it's installed, you can activate. Here we go. It's all these different sites. So these are all the different sites in this one site collection. There's a lot of them because people just use this as a test environment. We haven't even got through the A's and we're on number 2. So if you're ever working in like a development group, you see you got a lot of stuff just hanging out there. But basically, the point here is that say there's a site like this you create called ADV Assets 2 or something. I don't know what the site is, and then you want to activate. All you do is activate Nitro right here, and bada bing, it's available on this assets site. And once it's available on that asset site or whatever site, you create a new site. You can then go in and create a list. And once you have a list, you have the ability to create columns in that list, and then you just create a form to sit on that list. So let me go through a simple thing here. If I wanted to go here, and if this site already exists, already has Nitro activated. So if you went here and you said add an app, actually I find it better here. Go to site context and add a list. Add a list, right? And the list could be a blank list, and you just want to put some. Let's call it task 2 list. Yeah, I don't know, whatever. So now you have it available over here. And this is very simple. I won't go into this too deep. Give you a few minutes. Maybe people have some questions. I don't teach too many. So you have a new list right here, and you're going to create a few columns. So you're going to create a column like a single line of text, a description. Let's say notes. I'm just making stuff up. I didn't even plan this as part of the webinar today. So give me some chance here. Let's say a person group. It's going to be a person or group. It's going to be a requester. And so you start putting stuff together like this. Okay, now if you're going to do new on this, you just come up with the standard SharePoint form, right? Kind of boring. But if you want, you just go to Nitro Forms, and it's going to give you the ability to make a form. Use same form. Let's just do same form for now. And not make it complicated. You say, oh, well, where's all my columns? Well, that's easy. You go here and you say, add all columns. So it's going to add all columns right here. And usually what I do is I'll take these off because I can show them at the bottom. There it is right here. If you don't want an ID on there, you can. It's easy. You can then say here that you want to show the modified and delete at the bottom. Show item created modified at the bottom of the form. You can do that. You can also say, well, I want to do this in sections, not in tabs. So we're going to go to sections. Then you say, well, what I want to do is really make it 2 columns. So you go here, configure, and all of a sudden you're on 2 columns. And you want maybe vertical layout of the label. So all of a sudden it's looking like this now. And then you say, well, I want to add another form, another control here, another column. So you go here, create a column. Let's say a choice column, for example, right? Okay, choice. And then you can have choice. Let's just say category or something. Let's just call it, come back here, category. Yeah, and then, whatever. I'm just not going to put too much in here like that. And so then it's over here in category. It just showed up. So you can put it here, and it's going to be easy to drop it in wherever you want. Put it here. And then see, so you're building the form quite easily like that. And then you can just come in here and, change things around and move it easily. You can configure this. You can set permissions, who can see it. You can do UI changes, like change the color. You can change what the section header looks like, so you don't have that color right there. You can do a lot of different things. You can even hide the section where it says default. Then all you have to do is publish it, and you're good to go. And you have this form. Let's do it even just here. This is very basic and very primitive, but I'm just showing you how easy it is to do to make this form. We created a list in task 2 here, right? And previously it was a standard SharePoint form. Now we're going to go create. Well, what you need to do is refresh this a bit. So it kind of like wake up, it takes a few minutes to realize it's using a Nitro form and not a standard SharePoint form. So let's see if we can get it to do that. So there we go. So that's the same form, right? It doesn't show the ID for some reason, but it shows all this, the choices, So we're on the way here towards forms design. That's how simple it all is. If we go back to that form, and I'll just take this off because it's not showing up anyway, and have it like that, right? And then you can do stuff like request your phone, and then you go into the autofiller of that. You go here to our autofill user information. Let me just do one of those before I let you go. It's like, well, we got about 15 minutes and a half hour. So let me create another column here called, let's just say request your email. Just a single line of text. Request your email. If you guys are familiar with SharePoint, this wouldn't be too hard. This part's simple. I should point out that you can do these other columns up here too, like look up stuff in another list, or do associated items column, or signature column, attachment column. I'm just doing the simple ones here, standard SharePoint ones. So then we go here to form controls, and it's showing up here. If we wanted to do a search, because we had a lot of them, we just put something like REQ. There's your email. I'm going to put it here next to the requester. Well, it's not going to fill in the email until I go to the autofill section right here under form settings. And I say I want to do a new configuration based on the user profile of a new setting. And it's going to be based on user in the requester column. And it's going to be mapping the column requester email to the property of email. And you've got it all set to go right there. Okay. And if we publish this, again, I haven't done, this wasn't planned as part, but I think it's pretty cool to show this. If I go back to the Access Request system and maybe refresh it a little bit to get the new form in and do a new one. She's got the name and the email in now, right? The name and the email. So it goes on and on from there, you know. So then if you say, oh, I have choice 2, I want another box to show up here, depending on that, right? You can do things like that. Now I could go on, and as I end up building the system, really, once you're familiar with Nitro, and of course I am quite familiar with it, but once you are, it's pretty straightforward. And if you got more complex things to do, they're easy to do. If I wanted to go in here and add on a custom action, all I have to do is go to actions. I could do a script action, an action on submit, or a custom action. If I want to do a custom action, just put it up here. Or I guess I could put it somewhere else if I wanted. Custom, I think I thought I could put these other places. I know you can put like submit actions down here and then change out the save button for what the submit action does. But some people do that. They change like save to submit, and submit does a particular workflow rather than the standard save one. Anyway, if you've got stuff like this, just let us know. We'll talk about it. So then I go and create an action. There is no custom action, so I have to go in and create one. And on this new custom action, if I do it in designer mode, here I am creating one in designer mode, and I'm just going to do a simple one like, it could be like send email, you know, something like that. And then you can configure to send email, who it's from, who it's to, send notification, you know, there it is, send notification from the requester, I guess. We could do it from the requester. Yeah, if I thought about this, I'd have like a manager that I would send it to. Anyway, rather than, all right. Let's make it from no reply. That's what we want to do. All right. Email address of placeholder thing of no reply. No reply at, I don't know, SharePoint.com. Just put something there for now. Okay. And then it goes to the requester. You might say like, we got your request, right? Priority normal, whatever you want to do. Then you can set up your mail template, what you want it to say. And you say new mail template, and the title is notify on task 2 creation. The subject would be task created, and you can have the title of it right here. Put the title in to the subject, and then you can say, please do this task. And then you can put in notes or whatever you want to do here, you know, at the body, put in notes. Of course, you'd have due dates and all that kind of stuff too. I hope you understand this is just on the fly, but you know, from here you can take this base and go quite a few directions with it, which are really pretty interesting. So if I go back here to the refresh this list, it now has notify on task 2 creation. A lot of things you can do with it, but there it is. Send notification is working, and you publish this. Oh, I gotta put the title in there. Send notification. And then you say where you want it to show up. It can show up on the form, display form, and the edit control block, which are those 3 buttons, and the print manager or the list view manager, all these different places you can have it show up if you like. It's up to you. And also what order it shows up in, and if there's an error message or confirmation message, are you sure you want to do this? A lot of choices there. So let's go ahead and put this in place. So now when it's created, when you press the button, not when it's created, when you press the button, it's going to do that. So anyway, just showing you the stuff that can be done with this, right? So rather than go on and dig into this deeper and deeper, what I would suggest is that we talk to you individually if you want to get deeper into this. You can see how I could take this in another 20 minutes or half hour and really put together a pretty good application. So I think if you have things like that you can do, you can see that Nitro Studio is extremely easy to use, easy to learn, and it's very intuitive. We developed this product for this purpose. It could be used for InfoPath replacement or any kind of legacy program replacement, whether it's access forms or even just a new process that hasn't been fully automated. Maybe it's using emails or Excel spreadsheets or some other kind of clunky way of doing things, and now you're doing it with Nitro Studio and automating it. It's available on mobile devices. It's available in Teams. It's available in Office 365. And you're giving your clients or your customers or your staff a much easier solution to use and a way to move off InfoPath and not and get support. I think one of the big things we do here is support, and you can test to that through our many customers who can who praise our support, and one of the real reasons they work with us is because they know they're going to get answers. We have many vehicles for support, like chat and forum and workshops and knowledge base. So anyway, I encourage everybody to get in touch with us and move off InfoPath, help your clients move off InfoPath, help your organization, whoever you're working with, move off InfoPath to these modern solutions, and get involved in all the power and capabilities of Nitro Studio. So it's about 8 minutes before the hour. I think that's enough. And anything else we'll go into. I thank you everybody for attending, and I hope you have a good day. Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.